After a long, painful month from January 14th, day of order, to today, on Wednesday, February 16th, I finally have it. Oh, I've been so impatient for this thing. I need to quickly explain what I've been doing in this whole time of waiting because, yeah, I've done a lot. I've been collecting a lot of accessories, just waiting for this MacBook, which I finally got. Like, for example, this Ethernet adapter. USB-C, that's a regular A. C flash drives. Yep, everyone adapt to the superior standards now. Accessories like those. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for this. And finally, Sunday actually, I think. It was Sunday. I got an email from Apple. Time to ship it. They got it ready and they're shipping it. So this thing made it all of its way on a journey from Shanghai to some city in Japan, not entirely sure, to Memphis, to Milwaukee, to, strangely, actually way past us, like Calumet or something, till finally here. It is at my desk and I've been waiting way too long to unbox this thing. So without ado, after so many days of studying these unboxings, yes, I study unboxings, I'm going to give you the cleanest unboxing I can possibly get of this thing. So here we go. Let's unbox this thing. Yeah, I have Dink to thank here for assisting me with the B-cam here. I blurred out all the stuff because this is an Apple unique box and I just wanted to get this. So here we go. Ooh. Oh wow, take a look at this beauty. Wow. Honestly, this is a lot lighter than I expected. Like, I know people were saying this was heavier than other ones, but then again, maybe it's just because I'm used to my ridiculously thick and heavy 13-inch. Yes, my 13-inch is heavier. I don't know why, but it is. All right, so here's the entire box itself. Right here, I'll use this as my thumbnail pic. All right, so let me see. There's usually some specs on the side here, but I don't see any on the box. I guess the in-stock configurations will list the specs on the back of the box right here. That's something I noticed while studying for this unboxing. Well, since they're not here, let's just get into the actual tearing of the seal. Here we go. It's broken. I know it is. Apple always makes unboxing all of their products just such a satisfying experience. Oh, wow. All right. Wrap is off. The moment I've been waiting for too long. I have spent way too long saving money for this thing. Let's open it up. Oh, Dink, look. Do you see the circle here?
Oh, yeah, the circle?
They did it just to expose the Apple logo like that. That is so cool. So we are presented with the MacBook itself with this, well, extra circle of less packaging, so that way we can at least see the Apple logo. And before I get to the MacBook itself, I'm also going to talk about all the other accessories. Oh gosh. This is lighter than my 13-inch. My 13-inch is stupid heavy compared to this thing. Why is that the case? All right, so I'll set that aside because we actually have some more stuff in here. We got MagSafe 3 with the new USB-C connection. I'll dive into my thoughts a little bit more on that in a later video, but I'm just trying to get this thing out of the box and set up so I can instantly start using it. Though there is something interesting that I've heard about this, so let's see what we have in here with the documentation. MacBook Pro, quick start guide, legal, regulatory stuff. Black Apple stickers. I'm an Apple stickers collector, so black Apple stickers, nice to add to the collection. And then right here, we have this crazy, insane 140 watt power brick. Wow, this is actually a lot smaller than I thought it would be. Everyone who's tried to take this out of its packaging has always managed to tear it. I'm going to do this perfectly because I have studied how this packaging was made. It's caught somewhere. Oh, it's here. There, perfectly. Package is still pristine. Nobody has ever actually unboxed this power brick correctly, but wow. Yeah, hefty boy with the nice USB-C here. And let's actually get the MagSafe cable out as well. So I wasn't exactly happy that this particular generation brought MagSafe back, but I'm at least happy that they paid attention to this one deal. They made the cable separatable from the brick in case the cable itself breaks, which unfortunately has happened to me in the past. So thank God that has been rectified. All right. Let's get this thing out. This thing is actually a lot trickier to get out of its packaging compared to some of the other cables. So this pops out like that. This pops out like that. All right, and our cable is free. Look at that. Didn't have to tear any packaging into a gazillion pieces. So that's the MagSafe cable. And finally, let's put all of this junk aside, shall we? So we can actually focus on the real reason. This thing is cold. All right, here we go. So let's tear this off. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm so glad I ordered this in silver. It is so beautiful. Ooh, this is thinner. You know what? This is a tad thinner than my 13-inch, I think. You know what? Let me go grab my 13-inch. Wow, would you look at that? Would you take a look at that? This new MacBook is actually about as thick as the thickness of the... Geez, focus here. This MacBook here is actually just about as thick as the bottom edge of this lid here, where the bulge begins. So yeah, this is technically thinner than this, but I mean, just picking these up, this is lighter. This is actually lighter than my 13-inch. Time to open this up and see that mini LED display. As soon as I get this paper off. Alright.
That looks so satisfying.
I know. Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
On the phone it has like a... Ooh, that looks kind of cool. Ew.
I noticed that frame rate. I forgot this thing is ProMotion. Oh, that is so satisfying. Oh, I love ProMotion. This is so cool. But take a look at this. First of all, take a look at the size of this display. It's awesome. But another thing too, I gotta point out, that thing boot up super fast. Did you see how quick that thing turned on? Lightning speed. That is crazy. Let's actually get into the setup of this thing. So, all right, we'll select English as my main language. Alright, so it is the next day after I unboxed this thing, and let me just say, first impressions on this is pretty positive. So I haven't done too much with this thing just yet, and that's primarily because I have a lot of stuff I need to copy over from my, well, both my 13-inch MacBook and my iMac right here. Combined, there's a lot of stuff I need to copy over from both those machines onto this thing. Thank goodness that I got a terabyte in this. And speaking of which, let's actually go over the specs. So the specs on this thing, this is the 16-inch, obviously. You clicked on the title for a 16-inch MacBook Pro. 16-inch MacBook Pro with the Apple M1 Pro chip. And even though, yes, I'm a video editor, and video editors would love to have the M1 Max, here's the thing. This chip is already insane enough. And I'm coming from, keep in mind, I originally came from this thing. I tried switching to this thing only to discover that the graphics in this thing is dying. So I had to switch back to this thing, and this thing ain't exactly the world's greatest performer. Honestly, I didn't care which chip I ended up with. I wouldn't have even minded if I was stuck with the M1 chip. But there's a reason why I didn't get it, and that's because big screen everything. Those of you who follow my channel, you know I am big screen everything, and I'm finally happy to have a big screen in front of me. And obviously, Apple doesn't offer the M1 in a big screen laptop. M1 Pro it is. And because this is the 16-inch model, the specs of the M1 Pro are the exact same across the board for any M1 Pro chip, which is 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU. So yeah, even though it's cool to have extra cores with the M1 Max, this chip is already insane enough. That, and I might be on a very tight budget. Yeah, I had to save money where I could. Anywho, so yeah, that's the chip, M1 Pro. Obviously, I stuck to the base, 16 gigabytes of memory. It's been doing just fine considering that the most I've ever had in a computer was 8. My MacBook has 4 gigs, the iMac here has 8, so this has 16, and it is so cool to actually see 16 gigs of memory in action. And then in terms of the storage, I actually got the terabyte model, but at a discount. So, have you heard of the education store on apple.com? Yeah, that's actually where I bought this. I bought this in the education section on apple.com, and let me tell you, the computer is the exact same as if you bought it on not the education department from apple.com. It's the exact same computer. It's just I got a discount, a $200 discount on this thing from the education store. And even though, yeah, I could have bought the very base model for $2,300, well, I considered, you know what? I'm already spending a crap ton of money anyways. Why not, considering that I'm getting $200 off with that student discount, why not reinvest that towards getting a better computer? And in that case, that's exactly what I did. I reinvested that $200 into getting more storage. I have more storage. Got the terabyte model for the same price of a 512 gig model. So those are a quick rundown of the specs on this thing. Let's actually talk about a few other things that I've noticed. First of all, I am so happy I'm finally on a bigger display laptop. Well, this display definitely makes the one on this look like a joke. I'll do more comparisons later, but this is just first impressions. So far, this display is making both of these other ones here, even that one, just look like an absolute joke. It's about like a 3.5K display I hear, almost 4K, but not quite 4K. Oh, it is so good to be on a Retina display because I can't count the pixels this time. I am not able to count the pixels. Thank you. And also ProMotion. ProMotion on this thing is nuts. I love it so much. And I actually started editing this video in iMovie, and let me tell you this, ProMotion and iMovie, mwah, chef's kiss. So yeah, this display is such a substantial upgrade over my previous ones, and that's including the MacBook, iMac, and even this Acer monitor I have here. Yes, this Acer monitor sucks. I am so grateful to be on a new and much better display. Other impressions that I have about this, the trackpad is nice. I really hate trackpads in general. I'm not a fan of trackpads. If you're gonna make a trackpad, then you better do a pretty good job at it if you want me to actually use it. And you know what? I actually don't mind using this trackpad for if I forget my mouse. I'm still a mouse person. I've actually already paired the Magic Mouse to my MacBook here. And that's just because I'm just a mouse person. That's how I prefer to navigate throughout a desktop operating system. But this trackpad, solid. If I happen to forget my Magic Mouse, I won't care because this trackpad is just solid. I love it. It's huge, it's responsive, I can click any corner and it'll respond. It's just awesome. And it also has 3D touch functionality. The speakers in this thing, let's actually do a quick speaker test. I got some music here that I'll be able to play. So here's the latest upload I have on my Beats channel. I have more than one YouTube channel if you're new to here. You're kidding me. How is this thing this good? This is max volume right now. Apple, you nailed the speakers out of the park on this one. This is, wow! I love music, guys, and yes, I actually am an audiophile. These speakers, for laptop speakers, how are they this good? I mean, yeah, they don't exactly have the giant subwoofer bass that you can get out of a real sound system and such, but I mean, for laptop speakers, this is stupid good. Is it even legal for these speakers to be this good? That's what I'm questioning right now. That's quite a positive first impression with the speaker. I mean, I've listened to the speakers before already once, but yeah, those speakers, they are amazing. And now let's actually talk about a few other things that I've noticed. Like, as I was setting up FaceTime and Wi-Fi calling and such, the camera popped up. So I'm gonna go to photo booth here. I redesigned so many of the icons. This is my first time actually messing around with the redesigned macOS UI because I've been on the Catalina one for so long. So yeah, let's actually open this up. Wow, this webcam is usable. I mean, a little soft. I look soft. I don't look this good in hiding a lot of my face imperfections, actually. I noticed that off the bat. But yeah, let's actually make a quick recording here. Okay, so this is the quality of the webcam on the 16-inch MacBook Pro coming straight from the notch. Yes, this thing has a notch. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I have to say, my face doesn't look a tad soft. I don't know if that's due to the lighting or such, but I will say, huge step above my previous MacBook's webcam, which was absolute trash. It's supposedly a 720p on my previous MacBook, but I swear, that thing is not 720p. That's got to be 480p at best. This thing is so much better with its 1080p resolution, and yeah, it's for webcam, this is really good. I really like this webcam. Oh, also, the microphones on this thing, I actually have to hear what they sound like in video playback, but how do the microphones sound on this thing? Do you think I should try podcasting with this MacBook with the webcam and onboard webcam and microphone setup? I'd like to see if I can actually make a podcast with this thing, because my iPhone hasn't been the most convenient. So yeah, webcam's great, as well as maybe the microphones. They're supposedly studio quality. I don't know about the microphones. Let's actually stop this recording and play it back. Huge step above my... Okay, so there's a lot of reverb, but that's just due to the room that I'm in. But wow, you know what? I think I can actually do a podcast with this. So next podcast episode, I'm actually going to try using this for recording everything. All right, and speaking of the notch, because I know a lot of people are very iffy about the notch and such, and they're questioning how distracting is it? Because this is the first laptop to essentially have a notch. I don't recall any others that have had a display irregularity like this. So what do I think of the notch? Personally, when I discovered this thing had a notch on it, I got excited because that means bigger display, more screen real estate, but also keeping a very good camera system, which, as we just checked out, originally when I saw this after the October event, I just thought, wow, okay, this notch is amazing. I'm a big fan of notches. I don't know why, but I just think they're top notch. Okay, I am so bad at puns. Alright, anywho, now that I have the laptop in person, what does the notch look like? What do I actually think of looking at the notch itself? Honestly, I forget this thing has it, because the general space I'm working in is everything below the menu bar, and obviously the notch does not cut past the menu bar, and because my general workspace is below the menu bar, I often forget that the notch is even on my MacBook in the first place. And even then, when I actually do go to the menu bar, either for control center or just the general menus, drop down menus, whenever I go there, I'm either looking at the left of the menu bar or the right. I'm never looking in the middle of the menu bar, so I never even notice that the notch is there. I don't know how it bothers other people, because your workspace is entirely below it, and even when you do have to go to the menu bar, you're looking to the left of it or to the right of it. You're never looking at the notch. I had no idea that I'd actually managed to forget that this thing has a notch, and after I'm done working and decide, oh, I'm just going to admire that I have one of the best laptops in the world, I look up the menu bar, I'm like, oh, I completely forgot this thing has a notch. So yeah, notch doesn't bother me. The keyboard is also pretty good, but we've talked good about the first impressions of the chip and specs and webcam and other details like that. There are two gripes that I have with this thing out of the box, and they're kind of obvious things that I just have a lot of philosophical problems with. First of all, the keyboard. The trackpad's amazing. The keyboard, the travel is fine. I don't mind the travel and such. I prefer chiclet style keyboards, even though this is a brand new one, so it has to be broken into, as it's referred to. Well, the primary keys are not my problem with the keyboard. My issue with the keyboard is the function keys. Why did we step backwards? I do not understand why people are so mad about the touch bar. Okay, sure, it wasn't exactly perfect, but that's why we have this thing called improvement. It is to fix the not perfect stuff. It is to perfect the non-perfect stuff. You get what I mean? I can't English. But even then, the touch bar is more functional than function keys. I've talked about this on my podcast. I've talked about this in a previous video before. How is it more functional? It's because we get more variety of controls and more dynamic of a set. Sure, I have volume keys here, which are very functional, but I actually get more dynamic of a control set with the touch bar. Like, let's say, oh, this is too loud, so I turn it a notch down. But that's a little quieter than what I want. Instead of having to to take your mouse and go to Control Center to mess with the volume. All I have to do is basically, yes, you don't have to first tap the volume button and then adjust the slider. All you have to do is just press and hold the volume button and just start sliding. That's all you have to do to adjust it. I'm sorry guys, Touch Bar is superior and I really wish Apple never ditched it. I had many other reasons to get this particular laptop even though it doesn't have the Touch Bar, but still, I want the Touch Bar back. I will actually upgrade this thing if Apple decides to bring the Touch Bar back to it, because the Touch Bar compared to function keys, especially this one, the new function keys on this, honestly, they're more useless than the previous set of function keys. I have no use for a dictation button. Do not disturb is a scheduled function, so I'll never be pushing that key. And Spotlight, I just use Command Space all the time. I'm so used to Command Space, I'll never push the Spotlight key. So yeah, these function keys, I don't like them. The Touch Bar is superior. That's my first gripe, and then my last gripe is the ports. And I know a lot of professional users are definitely going to question my reasoning, so let's actually get into it. First of all, HDMI. I don't need this HDMI port. Do you want to know why? Here is my display that I have always been using for the longest time. My Acer monitor. This thing doesn't have an HDMI port. It actually is using DVI. Here's the other end of this DVI cable that I'm using. It's a USB-C. Would you look at that? I'm not using the HDMI port because technically Thunderbolt is a superior standard for displays compared to HDMI. And even though you're probably thinking, how is it that superior to HDMI even though they put out equivalent specs? Sure, in terms of the display nitty-gritty details, yeah, Thunderbolt and HDMI put out very similar specs. But here's the thing, a lot of monitors, I mean, mine's not a good example for this, but a lot of monitors you can buy today have USB hubs on them. With a Thunderbolt, not only can you power the same exact display specs as you can with an HDMI cable, you can also power a built-in hub on the display. If I were to use HDMI with that same display with the built-in hub, I need a separate cable to actually connect the hub to the computer because HDMI does not carry USB data. It only carries display and audio data. That's it. Thunderbolt is a superior standard compared to HDMI. There's no argument there. And yet I have an HDMI port on this. So yeah, one useless thing that I'll never be using. MagSafe. Let's actually talk about this a bit more because I originally mentioned how I wasn't too enthused about MagSafe coming back, but I was a bit happy about something. Here's my thoughts on MagSafe. I like how the cable is braided, which means it's much more durable compared to the previous MagSafe cables. Thank you, because my last one frayed and finding a new charger was, well, expensive. And even if this one were to get destroyed, thank God it's detachable from the brick itself, compared to the other cables that could easily fray and were non-detachable from the brick. Technically, you can detach them, except it's a one-time situation and you can't put it back on. So yeah, thank you for upgrading the type of cable. I'm just not entirely all that enthused about MagSafe coming back. I mean, that's probably because in part my previous laptop had MagSafe, and eventually when I get more devices and such, like for example an iPad Pro, that's my next device in the works, I'm actually going to use the USB-C charger from the iPad Pro because technically that is capable of charging this thing. Yes, you can charge the laptop via USB-C still. Yeah, I'm just not that enthused about MagSafe coming back compared to so many people. That's just me. And then the SD card, honestly, I don't use it frequently enough, okay? I have actually used it because the phone I was using to get that other angle that I was recording, I was using my Samsung Galaxy S7. It's not exactly the best camera, but it does the job. However, when it comes to actually transferring the footage from that phone to the computer, honestly, my most convenient method is just popping the SD card out of that and shoving it into here. But here's the thing, I don't use that camera enough to justify having this port on the side here. I rarely use two different camera angles at the same time. I only use two different camera angles primarily for unboxings, maybe if I'm filming skits, but once again, that phone, I rarely use it, and I can't really justify having a dedicated port for SD cards on this thing. I'd rather trade the HDMI, SD card, and the MagSafe all for Thunderbolt 4 replacements. Honestly, I would love to just have USB C everything on this thing. So those are my two gripes with the entire computer. No touch bar. I really wish it had it. The port selection could be much better, especially for professional ports. That's pretty much my unboxing and first impressions of the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I love this computer. It is amazing, even though I have those two gripes with it. This is not the only video I'm going to make about this. I'm actually going to make a video comparing the performance metrics of this as well, especially to my 13-inch MacBook Pro, and even for giggles, because I know this is going to be laughable, this iMac here. It still can't export videos. The graphics isn't dead yet. If the graphics was dead, then you would not be able to see that logo right there. But yeah, for giggles, I'll compare it between my previous laptop and my iMac here, and then I'll eventually put out my full review of this entire laptop. So yeah, thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. If you want to see more of my content with performance testing and my official review with this thing, be sure to get subscribed, please. Oh gosh, I'm so excited, guys. I am so excited. All right, thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. My name is DeWolf. Random Alpha, signing out.